An unnamed young girl brought to the emergency room at midnight. When Nurse Elena reads the inscription inside the ring around her neck, the door to a 16-year-old secret opens, but a lawyer's move and two mysterious men at the door turn everything upside down in an instant. Rain falls heavily on Walnut, California, as if someone had thrown a bucket in the sky. Sirens cut through the wet night and make the window panes rattle. Outside, the ambulance stops with a tired sigh from the brakes. Two doors close, and the sound is heard throughout the courtyard of the civil hospital. Paramedics quickly get out, plastic capes clinging to their bodies, and pull the stretcher out of the car. The front wheel lands in a puddle and splashes cold water on the legs of those running. The smell of gasoline, rubber, and rain enters with them through the automatic door. "Head trauma, unresponsive," says one of the paramedics in a firm voice as he pushes the stretcher down the hallway. Blood pressure rises and falls. The pupils react, but slowly. The young woman is 18 years old. Her face is swollen and bruised purple. There is a cut on her eyebrow that bleeds slowly, mixing red with rainwater. Her hair sticks to her forehead. The manual respirator makes a rhythmic foo-foo sound, patiently fighting to make her chest rise and fall. She does not speak. She does not look. She is a light body, but heavy with worry. The white lights in the hallway pass over the ceiling. Each lamp above the stretcher seems to count seconds. A nurse holds the door. Another pulls the IV. Someone cleans the wet floor with a squeegee quickly so no one falls. The air is cold from the air conditioning, but the skin burns with nerves. Outside thunder answers the sirens, as if the whole city were awake. Name someone without identification asks. "We found her inside a crashed car. She was alone," the paramedic replies. In the rush, there is a detail that no one sees first because their hands are busy with monitors, the pressure device, the oximeter on her finger. But when the light hits at the perfect angle, it shines on the young woman's neck under a strand of hair. There is a simple cord hanging from it, a ring, old and smooth with marks of time, cold as the night, touching her collarbone and moving slightly with each step of the stretcher, making a very gentle climb against the metal of the IV. The door to the room closes behind them, and the world outside becomes the sound of rain and radio. The equipment moves like clockwork, fabric tearing, scissors cutting gauze, solution going in, solution coming out. The young woman breathes with assistance. The monitors begin to draw green lines, timid heartbeats that want to follow. The silence of someone fighting for their life has its own sound. It's those little noises, the tape sticking, the click of buttons, the regular beep that says, "We're here in the middle of everything." Elena Vargas appears, hair tied in a practical bun, dark circles from a long shift, steady hands of someone who has seen many things and still feels. She arrives to check the IV access, tighten the immobilization, adjust the sheet to the correct height of the shoulders. Her badge sticks to the uniform bag with every step she wastes. No time. She checks the bed number. She checks the IV. She checks the signs. The body learns to act before the heart thinks. Saturation rose a little to 60%, someone answers. Elena nods and approaches the young woman. She pulls the sheet back a little to see her chest, looks for bruises, watches how she breathes. With her other hand, she removes a strand of hair covering her neck. That's when her eyes stop. The world shrinks until it's just the glint of metal hanging on a cord, a ring. The first thing Elena feels is her body becoming light, as if her feet were not touching the floor. The second thing is her stomach tightening, gasping for air. The ring is simple, but the shape, the weight in her gaze, her memory recognizes it before her mind wants to. For a second, everything around her is far away. The voices sound as if they were underwater. The beeping of the monitor disappears. The rain outside becomes static. Elena's finger trembles. She does not touch it. She just looks at it. This cannot be, she thinks. No, it is not possible. But something inside her says yes. Her jaw tightens, and she takes a deep breath, forcing the air in and out. Her chest hurts a little, as if an old hug, one of those you lose in time, had returned by mistake. A colleague asks, "Are you okay?" She blinks slowly and returns to the present. Her body knows what to do. Her hands continue working. She checks the neck brace, adjusts the mask, asks for another bag of IV fluid. Her voice comes out normal, as if nothing had changed. "Bring the air monitor, and let me know when the CT scanner is free." She leans over again, this time to put the name bracelet on the young woman's wrist. When she touches her skin, she feels the cold of the hospital and the faint warmth of life. The pulse is weak, the arm is light. Elena brushes away the strand of hair that falls on her neck, and the ring shines again like a small beacon. She holds her breath for half a second without meaning to, and lets it out like a sigh. "It's like mine," she thinks, a simple thought that lights up inside her. Old images flash before her eyes. A chubby little hand, laughter mixed with tears, a tiny finger trying to put on a big ring. Elena bites her lip to keep from breaking down. The shift doesn't give her a chance to fall apart. "We need to dry that hair better," she says, grabbing a towel. Her voice is the same as always, but inside she tries to carry the weight of a premonition. She works in silence for a few moments, dries the young woman's forehead, adjusts the sheet so that the team can move the body again, checks that the cord is not tight around the neck. The ring sticks slowly to her chest and makes that climb again. Elena closes her eyes for a second, as if saying a little prayer that only God and her heart can hear. She opens them again. "It's okay, girl," her quietly, as if speaking to her and to herself at the same time. "We're going to take care of you." A paramedic, still wet from the rain, hands her a piece of paper. "Sign here, nurse." Time of admission, 11:41 p.m. Elena signs. The pen fails a little. She corrects it. Her hands are steady, her eyes attentive. But now there is something else there, an old spark, stored away for years, that returns for no reason. She takes 2 steps, looks at the young woman from head to toe to her hair, and returns to the ring, always to the ring. "We're going to stabilize her and take her for an X-ray," she says in a voice that organizes without rushing, but without delaying us. The team follows her order, and the room returns to the rhythm of a job well done. The rain continues its music outside. Inside, the hospital has its own orchestra. Metal and plastic stretcher wheels. Quiet voices. The young woman remains in the center like a dimmed lighthouse that still wants to give light. And the small, silent ring, quiet, remains there, wanting to be seen with every movement of the cord. Elena asks nothing, comments on nothing, just keeps the detail like a secret that is put in the right drawer to be opened later. For now, she does what she always does, cares and breathes once, twice, until the heart agrees to stay in the chest without escaping, because the night is long, and life, when it wants to, finds a way back, even if it is only for a glint of metal in the rain. Elena approaches the young woman to put on the bracelet. Her fingers, accustomed to the quick routine, run over the cold skin of the wrist, looking for a good place to stick the label. The white light of the hospital reveals everything without compassion. Every vein, every bump, every detail that almost no one sees. But at that moment, one detail stands out. There, on the inside of the wrist, is a small, perfect crescent-shaped mark, as if someone had pressed a cap very hard when the girl was little, a mark that Elena knows better than herself. Her heart beats crookedly, as if skipping a beat. She touches the scar with her fingertip very gently, without thinking. The air doesn't enter. It becomes heavy, difficult to swallow. "Oh my God," she says softly, her mouth trembling. Maybe it's her legs. They feel weak, but she forces herself to be strong. She can't fall, not now. The beep of the monitor remains normal, but inside her, there is a storm. Elena's eyes fill with tears suddenly, without warning, as if someone had turned on a tap. She turns her face away for a second, wipes quickly with her hand, and tries to calm down, but her head won't let her. The past breaks down the door and rushes in. The room disappears. The hospital vanishes. Suddenly she is in 2008, at the kindergarten door, her heart happy after a tiring but satisfying shift because she was going to see her little girl. The rain that day wet her forehead. Her daughter's backpack had stickers and a sun drawn by her. Elena saw the time, 7 minutes late, only 7. She smiled, thinking that her daughter would throw a tantrum and pout, but when she reached the door, the teacher did not smile. She only spoke with a calmness that cut Elena inside. The girl had already left with her dad. The smile fell from her face without having time to exist. How could Elena, with her heart frozen, say that her father wasn't coming today, that he was traveling? He didn't even warn her. The teacher searched the list with a trembling hand. The man signed, showed documents. Everything seemed fine. Elena's skin prickled. The air stuck in her throat. She didn't go out with him, she repeated, as if saying it could change something. She ran through the school, shouted the girl's name, asked everyone, and each unanswered response sank her deeper. The walls grew taller, time grew crueler, and her fear grew bigger than she did that night and every night for 16 years. Elena closed her eyes, hearing the same phrase. The girl already left with her dad, but he shouldn't be there. Not now, in the hospital. Time joins with the present in a knot impossible to ignore. The scar is there, the same one. The young woman's hand looks very much like her daughter's when she slept on the couch, and Elena covered her with a blanket. She finishes gluing the bracelet. The young woman's arm falls onto the sheet. Elena takes a deep breath, but the air comes like hidden crying. "If it's you," she says, trembling. "If it's you, my girl. God, what do I do?" There is no answer. Only the silence of the hospital, only the sound of the rain and her heart. After 16 years, she is afraid again of waiting. The sound of the rain outside grows louder, as if the sky had decided to press down on the world to see who could hold out. Inside the room, the beep of the monitor is the only sound that seems alive, marking each second as if it were hammer blows to Elena's chest. Beep, beep, beep. A faster heartbeat here, a slower one there, but steady. The young woman is fighting. Elena feels her throat dry. Her eyes cannot look away from the ring moving gently on the girl's chest. The metal is scratched and worn, as if it had passed through many years of hands and stories. She reaches out her hand hesitantly and very carefully grasps the ring between her fingers. The cord pulls a little on the young woman's skin, but it doesn't hurt. When she turns the ring to see the inside, her whole world breaks apart and reassembles in a single second. There it is, engraved, marked, burning into the soul for Elena Andres 2006, the name she loved most, and the name she hated most in her life, the year she still believed that everything would be okay, when her family was a promise and not an open wound. The air escapes from Elena's lungs. She feels her hands sweat. She feels a chill run up her back. Her heart beats strangely. She squeezes the ring so hard that she doesn't feel the pain in her fingertips. Why does she have that? The question comes out softly but full of anguish. Because if that ring is there, if the scar is the same, if the age matches, if fate is playing with her again, it can't be a coincidence. Not after all Elena has been through. Her mind spins with 1,000 possibilities. Hope, fear, hate, love, guilt. Everything mixes together like a storm inside her. She looks at the young woman's face and tries to find the little girl who held that same ring with her tiny hand, crying because she didn't want to give it back. Elena's hand trembles. She places the ring slowly on the sheet and takes a deep breath, trying to regain control, but control is already gone. Her heart has a hole where only one question exists. Is it you? If it's you, she whispers with a broken voice, I found you, my little girl. She closes her eyes for a moment, because if she keeps looking, the ring will collapse right there, and she needs to act. She needs to answer that question after 16 years without answers. She's not going to waste this opportunity. She grabs the phone with a steady hand, but inside, she is broken. She dials a number she knows by heart, the only number she saved, even though she tried to forget everything, Captain Jose Ramirez's. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. Ramirez answers in a serious voice. Elena takes a deep breath, looking at the young woman, motionless, as if her life depended on the next words. And it does depend on them. Captain, a young woman with no name arrived here, 18 years old. Accident. Her voice breaks, so she presses the ring again. She has my ring, the scar. Silence on the other end. Heavy silence, full of memories. Ramirez knows that pain. He has known it since day one. Elena says quietly, Are you sure? She looks at the scar, the marked face, the ring with her name on it. I am not certain. She takes a deep breath, tears burning her eyes. But I have a chance, and a chance for someone who has been searching for years is worth more than air. Ramirez's tone changes instantly. He becomes alert. What is her condition? Serious. She's in a coma. I remember every detail of that Redwood Pines case. It never left my desk. Send me the location. I'm on my way. Elena puts the phone down slowly, but her fingers are still shaking. She moves closer to the young woman and places her hand on the head of the stretcher, brings her lips close to the air without touching her fragile skin, and says softly with a promise in her soul, "If you are my daughter, I swear that no one will ever take you away from me again." Outside, the rain falls even harder, as if the sky were crying with her. Elena walks through the corridors with heavy steps, as if with each step she were trying to crush the fear growing inside her. The sound of the rain outside seems to follow her even inside the hospital, seeping into her thoughts. She goes straight to the director's office without hesitation. Her hands are cold, but her eyes burn with determination. When the door opens, the director is sitting behind a huge desk, surrounded by papers, stamps, spreadsheets, and serious faces that think numbers are worth more than lives. Elena presses the board against her chest, trying to control her breathing. "I need a DNA test," she begins bluntly, "for the young woman who arrived from the accident. It's urgent." The director slowly removes her glasses, as if diffusing a bomb with great calm. "Nurse Elena, we've already discussed this before." Her voice is neutral, almost cold. "That type of test requires authorization from a responsible family member, a legal guardian. The patient has no documents, so it's not possible." Elena presses her lips together. Her heart is beating too fast, as if she had lost her rhythm, but I have reasons to believe that this girl could be her. Her voice trembles, but she takes a deep breath and continues. "My daughter." The director's face hardens slightly. She raises an eyebrow. "It could be. It's not enough." She crosses her arms. "No test, no examination, and no examination. No proof. It's that simple." Simple. That word hurts more than any blow. Elena feels the floor shake for a moment, but she stands firm. Her gaze changes. It is the gaze of a mother who has already cried enough in her life. "I'm not here asking for a favor. I'm asking for justice," she replies in a low but firm voice. "If there is a possibility, even a small one, I have the right to know." The director sighs, already impatient. "No, nurse, you don't have that right. Not until you prove you're a family member. It's protocol. I can't risk the hospital's name for an emotional hypothesis." Emotional hypothesis. Those words cut like a knife. Elena feels a chill run through her body. Her face grows hot. Her hands clench for a moment. She thinks about screaming, about banging on the desk, about tearing up all those papers that are worth more to them than a life. But she does none of those things. She just moves closer to the desk, her gaze meeting the director's directly, without fear, without asking permission. "If protocol doesn't recognize me as a family member, then I'll become your family member now." The director frowns. "What do you mean by that?" She means that Elena swallows hard, her voice breaking. "I'm going to fight for her as a mother. I'm going to make noise. I'm going to call whoever I have to call. The police, the judge, television, the Holy Father, whoever. But I'm not going to accept them taking away my chance to protect my daughter again." The silence weighs heavily. The clock on the wall ticks as if marking the time of her courage. The director looks at Elena with some annoyance, but also with something she doesn't want to accept, fear of someone who has nothing left to lose. "Find your place, Elena," she replies, and her voice is now firm as stone. "She has always been by my little girl's side, even though she is not by my side." The principal remains silent. Elena takes a deep breath, turns around, and leaves without asking permission. The hallway seems longer now, but she walks with her back straight, because it is not just a paper fight, it is the struggle of a lifetime. Inside her, an old promise is fulfilled. This time, no one is going to stop me. And so, with her heart full of fear and hope at the same time, Elena's war begins. Because when a mother finds an opportunity to recover what she has lost, she becomes stronger than any closed door. Elena returns to the room where the young woman is. The rhythm of the hospital remains the same: quick footsteps, low voices, the insistent beeping of the monitors. But in there, next to the bed, everything seems to have stopped. There are only two lives in that bubble: Elena's and that of the young woman who could be everything she lost. She pulls up a chair, sits down slowly, and lets her body fall into a weariness that comes not only from her shift, but from 16 years of carrying the weight of her past. Only two lives seem to exist there: Elena and the girl who could be everything she lost. She pulls up a chair, sits down slowly, and lets her body fall into a weariness that comes not only from her shift, but from 16 years of carrying a sadness that never sleeps. The young woman is motionless, her lips dry, her eyebrows relaxed. Her breathing seems like a silent struggle against the void. Elena takes a deep breath. Her hands are still trembling a little. Then she leans in and approaches the girl's ear, so close that she feels the faint warmth coming from it, like a flame about to go out. She whispers in a voice so soft that no one else could hear. "My girl had a nickname, a name that only I would say." She closes her eyes. "Just remembering it hurts. Soul," she whispers, as if returning a piece of her soul. "Soul, do you remember that word?" The silence seems to stop the air in the first second. Nothing happens in the second either, but in the third beep of the monitor, something changes. The young woman's left hand moves. It's almost nothing, a slight tremor in her little finger, like the movement of a butterfly that has just awakened. But for Elena, it's as if the world has turned on the light after years in darkness. She looks at her hand with wide eyes, her heart beating fast. Soul tries again, her voice breaking. "Are you listening to me, my child? My daughter." The finger moves again, softly, weakly, but alive. Elena puts her hand over her mouth to keep from crying out loud. The tears come anyway, hot, running down her cheeks and falling on the uniform. She touches the young woman's hand carefully, almost afraid of breaking the miracle. "I'm here," she says in a whisper of love and pain. "Mommy's here." The young woman doesn't open her eyes. She doesn't speak, but that small gesture is like a cry of hope from Elena's chest. Her hand falls back onto the sheet. Her breathing is still slow, but she responded. Even though she doesn't know, even though she doesn't remember, a part of the girl who disappeared is still there inside, fighting to come back. Elena wipes her face, but the stubborn crying persists. She takes a deep breath, grabs the ring hanging from the necklace again, and squeezes it tightly in the palm of her hand. The inscription inside seems to shine just for her, for Elena. Andres, 2006, the name she once said with love and then with hate. Andres, the man who promised to take care of their daughter. But it was just when she disappeared that he also left without saying goodbye, without giving an explanation. Rumors spread throughout Walnut, California during the years. Debts to dangerous people, pent-up anger, silent revenge against Elena, who had the courage to leave the house when the shouting and bottle-throwing began. Elena tried not to believe any of it, but now, with the ring there, the pieces are starting to fall into place, even though she never wanted to put that puzzle together. The past weighs so heavily that Elena bends over a little. The ring seems heavier than it should, as if it carried all the history she tried to forget. The beep of the monitor remains steady. The rain remains steady. And Elena remains there, squeezing the ring, holding the young woman's hand, whispering a name that only a mother and daughter know. "Come back to me, Elena." She waits for the hallway to empty. Her heart is beating so fast that it feels like it's going to jump out of her throat. She looks both ways, takes a deep breath, and pushes the ICU door open carefully, leaving only a crack. Inside, the light is dim, the temperature cold, and the silence weighs heavily, as if time itself were holding its breath. She enters slowly, hiding 2 sterile swabs in the sleeve of her uniform, and a small bottle with a syringe and a sample tube in her inside pocket. Each step sounds enormous inside her chest. The young woman remains motionless with the ventilator maintaining the rhythm that life needs to continue. Elena approaches and places her hand on her forehead as if asking for permission, a quick caress but full of love stored up for years. "Forgive me, my daughter," she whispers with a broken voice. The nickname, "my daughter," escapes her lips like an old prayer. That word breaks her inside, a mixture of guilt and hope. With careful hands, Elena swabs the inside of the young woman's cheek. The young woman. She forces herself not to tremble. If she trembles, she fails. And now she cannot fail. Then she takes the syringe and looks for a drop of blood without hurting her. Only the minimum necessary. Every second there seems too dangerous, as if the whole world could fall with the slightest movement. She puts the collected material in the little bottle and hides it again in her uniform, close to her heart, where the only thing that keeps her standing beats. The hope that this is her daughter. Just a little bit, my love, is to bring you back, she murmurs before she can walk away. The door to the ICU opens with a bang. Mrs. Elena! The loud voice cuts through the air like a knife. Elena freezes. 3 colleagues enter. One of them looks at what she has in her hands, and his eyes fill with surprise. What are you doing? A younger nurse steps forward, taking the vial from her hands. That's totally forbidden. Elena tries to speak, but no sound comes out. She can only feel the tears falling, unable to stop them. She's my daughter, she manages to say, but so quietly that almost no one hears her. I need to know. Her colleagues call the administration immediately. The atmosphere becomes tense. The director arrives with a serious expression, her finger already raised as if to accuse. You crossed all boundaries. You are suspended. Elena explodes. The principal will take legal action. This is no place for personal drama. Elena's face collapses. Shame, fear, humiliation, everything mixes with the love she cannot hide. Before the situation worsens, the door opens again. Captain Jose Ramirez enters quickly, his police badge hanging from his chest. He raises his hand with a firm voice. What she took is evidence from an old case of a missing girl. The principal frowns. That doesn't change hospital protocol. It does, he replies, looking at everyone. If this young woman is who we think she is, we are facing a serious crime, and with 16 years without answers, Elena did wrong, but for a reason that any mother would understand. Elena lowers her gaze. She didn't want anyone to understand. She just wanted to get her daughter back. Ramirez takes her arm, not forcefully, but gently. Elena, I know how great your pain is, he says more quietly. Just for her, but you have to trust my work. No crazy stuff, you promise? She is still crying and trembling. I promise, she whispers. Ramirez looks at the principal. I will take responsibility for whatever is necessary, but no one is going to expel this woman for trying to save her daughter. The atmosphere remains tense, but that is enough for the principal to take a step back, take a deep breath, and say dryly, very well. For now, I will not take disciplinary action, but Elena is prohibited from entering here without express authorization. Elena feels her chest sink. She is forbidden from being near the young girl who could be her sunshine. Ramirez squeezes her arm again. A warning, a promise. No crazy stuff. Elena, let me help you. We're going to do this right. Elena takes a deep breath, trying to put the pieces of her heart back together. But deep down, hope is still alive because her fight has just changed location, and she has already decided she won't stop for anything in the world. Elena is sitting on a bench in the hallway, staring into space, her hand clutching her own arm, as if it were the only thing keeping her together. The air feels very heavy, as if breathing were a fight against something unseen. She hears the wheels of a distant stretcher, footsteps and voices passing by. Everything sounds muffled and distant, as if she were trapped in her own anguish, until a young paramedic approaches. Her hair pulled back in a messy bun, her uniform still wet from the early morning rain. In her hands, she carries a small, transparent bag. The paramedic says carefully, "Nurse Elena," as if treading on fragile ground. Elena looks up slowly, still lost in her thoughts. "This was in the patient's car," explains the paramedic. "We found it during the examination. I thought it would be best to give it to you directly." Her voice is neutral, but her expression is full of empathy. Elena grabs the bag with trembling hands. Inside are simple things. Cheap lip gloss, a loose hair tie, a key ring with the letter Vive already worn away, and a crumpled piece of paper, as if it had been stored in a hurry. She opens it carefully, her heart beating fast without asking permission. The paper rustles as it opens, and then the short, cruel words appear. Valeria Ortega, 18.1 second. Elena feels the floor moving beneath her feet. She has to hold on to the arm of the bench to keep from falling. Ortega, the surname she tried to bury in her memory, the name that brought back memories of blows on the table. Doors slamming shut, broken promises, the name of Andres. The man who disappeared the same day, his daughter lost her sight. Elena's vision blurs. She closes her eyes, trying to control the tremor that rises from her hands to her chest. She murmurs, almost voicelessly, "It can't be a coincidence." The air turns cold and thin. Her head is filled with questions. Why does the girl have that name? Where did that surname come from? Who registered that girl? Who gave her that name? Why is the paramedic touching her shoulder gently? "Are you okay? Shall I call someone?" "Yes," says Elena, her voice choked with pain. "Thank you. You can go now." When the paramedic leaves, Elena presses the paper against her chest, as if it were something sacred or a blade. The phone rings in the nurse's station. A colleague answers, looks at Elena, and gestures to her. "They're looking for you." It's the forensic expert. Elena gets up too quickly, almost stumbling, but reaches the phone before anyone can stop her. "Elena speaking," she says. The expert's voice is dry and direct, like someone talking about numbers. "We need the patient's full identification. We've already checked the car. From the marks we found, it wasn't an accident." Elena presses her lips together. It wasn't an accident. She has recent scratches on the sides, marks from another vehicle. The braking was very short, with no attempt to swerve. The man's voice becomes more serious. Someone crashed into her car and fled the scene. Someone didn't want her to get where she was going. Elena grips the phone so tightly that her fingers turn white. So she was running away from someone. The question comes out, trembling. "Everything indicates that she was," replies the expert. "They were following her." Elena closes her eyes. A great weight falls on her shoulders. If this young woman is indeed her daughter, someone may have spent 16 years trying to hide that truth, and now perhaps tried to kill her. Why? Why now? What did she discover? What did she see? Who didn't want her to come back? Elena's heart screams a certainty that still has no answer. They're trying to take her away from me again. The rain beats on the hospital roof, as if the sky also wants to say this. It's not a coincidence. It's fate taking back what was stolen from her. And Elena feels with her whole body that the struggle she thought was already very long is really just beginning. Doña Carmen enters with short steps, almost pushed by the weight of the years and remorse. A guard accompanies her to the hallway where Elena is, but she signals that she can walk alone. In her hands, she carries an old bag and a yellowed envelope by time. Her gray hair, pulled back in a loose bun, moves with her heavy breathing and her eyes. Oh, her eyes show that she carries a guilt that never went away. Elena slowly gets up when she sees her. Her heart skips a beat. She knows that face from school, from meetings, from smiles in preschool, when everything was simple. Doña Carmen. Elena's voice sounds weak. Surprised, the woman takes a deep breath. She wipes away a tear before it falls. Elena says in a trembling voice, "Today, after so many years, I had to come. I had to look you in the eyes and ask for your forgiveness." Elena's chest tightens. She takes a few steps toward her, confused. "Forgiveness for what, Doña Carmen?" She opens the envelope with hands that tremble so much that the paper almost falls out. She takes out an old photo, the school entrance, faded colors, and a face trapped in time. Andres, that look that Elena could never forget. In the photo, he is holding the hand of a little girl, Sol, with a big smile, her head resting on his chest, trusting like a daughter who believes she is safe in her father's arms. Elena's world breaks apart again. Doña Carmen swallows hard, guilt choking every word. "I was wrong, Elena. I was wrong, and I carry that burden every day." She covers her face with one hand when she realized the document was fake. It was already too late. Everything spins around Elena. She clutches her chest, the pain coming in waves. "He took my daughter," she says through tears. He ripped her away from me and left me dead inside all this time. Doña Carmen tries to approach her, filled with regret. You don't know how much I prayed to find you one day and tell you the truth. With her other hand, the woman takes an old notebook out of her bag, covered with school notes with children's stickers, torn corners, years stored at the bottom of a drawer like a heavy secret. She opens it to a page, marked with her finger, and points to the name there. Maria Sol Vargas Ortega. Date of birth, the same. And above that name, a thick, rough scratch, trying to erase that identity forever. Elena covers her mouth with her hand and cries like someone who has lost everything and found everything at the same time. Lydia did this to me, the tears trembling in her throat. She made me look crazy. She made me sign papers. She made me believe that I failed, but he was the one to blame. He, Doña Carmen nods, also crying. He destroyed you, and I helped without meaning to. But now the truth is here. She takes her hand in her wrinkled hands. Now you can fight this. Elena's heart beats so hard it hurts. She presses the notebook against her chest as if hugging her daughter. The fear that always lived inside her awakens for real. What if Andres is still around? What if he already knew? What if Sol could have remembered something? What if the accident wasn't the first attempt? Elena wipes her tears with her sleeve. Her gaze changes. It's no longer just pain. Now it's war. I'm going to fight for my girl, she says with a firm voice full of love, as I should have done from day one. The lady squeezes her arm, emotionally. Elena, you never stopped fighting, but now you are going to fight the right person. With evidence, with the truth, with a heart that never gave up. And for the first time in a long time, she feels that maybe this time, hope is on her side. Ramirez spreads the documents and photos out on a small table next to the intensive care room. He organizes everything carefully, as if putting together a puzzle that he cannot afford to get wrong. The ring with Andres' name, the crescent-shaped scar on the young woman's wrist, the piece of paper with the name Valeria Ortega, the registration notebook, the old photo. It all forms an image that screams the truth that no one wants to accept so easily. Elena watches, her fingers clenched together, her heart about to leap out of her chest. Elena, it's too much of a coincidence to be just a coincidence, Ramirez murmurs, writing in his notebook. The ring doesn't lie. The scar doesn't lie. The crossed-out name someone wanted to erase the part that connected the two of you. She looks at Elena seriously. There is humanity in her eyes, but also the coldness of a professional who knows the weight of the evidence. Elena says, slowly, everything indicates that this young woman could be your daughter. She closes her eyes for a second, as if she needs to hold the world with her eyelids. Then why do we keep saying, could be? Her voice trembles. Why don't you just say yes, it's her? Ramirez takes a deep breath because in my job, the truth needs to be in writing. DNA. Without that, anyone can knock us down in court, and I'm not going to let this case die again. DNA, that word, is now the bridge between 16 years of pain and a future that Elena doesn't even dare to imagine. She approaches the ICU glass and looks at the unconscious girl. Her chest rises and falls slowly. Her hands rest on the sheet, so fragile, yet so strong at the same time. She's my daughter, she whispers. I'm sorry, deep down inside, as if my heart had recognized hers. Ramirez puts a hand on Elena's shoulder with the seriousness of someone who knows that promises like that are dangerous. The DNA will confirm it, I give you my word. But sometimes, fate enters the room without knocking. The door to the hallway opens with a bang. A man in a dark suit enters carrying an expensive briefcase, his shoes shining as if they were new. His face shows that he did not come to ask. He came to command. Good evening. His voice is cold as metal. I am Beltran, a lawyer. I represent the legal guardian of the patient, Valeria Ortega. He takes a printed sheet from the briefcase and holds it up in the air, almost pushing it against Ramirez's chest. Here is the court order. Nurse Elena is prohibited have any contact with the young woman, and no tests can be performed without the family's consent. Elena feels her legs give way. Legal guardian? Family? Who is that person? Cindy asks, knowing that the answer will hurt her. Beltran smiles sardonically, without any compassion. Mrs. Lydia Hernandez. I believe you know each other. He drops the phrase like poison. Mr. Andres Ortega's ex-girlfriend. Elena's world closes in on her in a tight circle of fear. Lydia, the woman who appeared in Andres's life when he began to distance himself from his daughter. The woman Elena always felt was envious and angry, and who now seems to have taken the girl who was not hers. Elena can't breathe. She has no right. She cries out in pain. She stole my daughter, along with him. Beltran looks at her as if she were worthless. What you believe does not change what is written on paper. Ramirez steps forward, protecting Elena with his body. The case is under investigation. This order does not prevent me from continuing to do my job. Oh, of course it does, corrects the lawyer with a cold smile. Until you present DNA evidence, you have nothing. Elena feels her chest burning. The lawyer knows exactly where to strike, and then he delivers the final blow. Don't touch her anymore, nurse, or this will become a crime. Elena looks down at the floor, trying to hold back the tears that threaten to escape. Her voice comes out softly. He took her away from me once, and now you want to take her away from me again. Beltran puts away the folder, satisfied with the damage he has caused. Read the order and comply with it. I'll be back in the morning. He turns and leaves, leaving behind an air that smells of injustice. Ramirez clenches his fist, takes a deep breath, and looks at Elena. Her pain is so visible that it seems as if even the air is suffering with her. I promised you, Elena says, trembling. But if it's to protect my daughter, I can go crazy again. Ramirez looks at her firmly. Then let's get that DNA before they manage to stop us. We still have time. Elena wipes away a tear with courage. There is no longer fear in her eyes, only fire. I waited 16 years, Captain. I'm not going to give up now. No one is going to take her away from me again. Night falls heavily on the hospital. The cold lights of the corridors seem lonelier. Every beep of the monitor sounds too loud in the silence of the intensive care unit. Elena stands behind the glass, unable to enter. Her chest feels tight, as if a hand were slowly crushing it from the inside. She looks at Valeria, lying still, breathing with the help of machines, so fragile and yet so brave just for being alive. The distance between them is only a few meters, but to Elena, it seems like an abyss. What she wants most is to push that door open, lie down next to the young woman, and hold her hand like she used to when she was a baby and afraid to sleep, but she can't. The cold lawyer turned love into a rule and care into a crime. Elena approaches the glass, rests her forehead there, feeling the cold pass over her skin, closes her eyes, and tries to hear the sound of the girl's life, the sound of the heart that she believes once beat inside her. She takes a deep breath and then begins to sing very softly, her voice hoarse with sadness. Sleep, my sunshine, sleep, for tomorrow the sun will wake you. The song she sang every night until her daughter disappeared. The song that lulled a childhood that was stolen from them. The song that memory remembers before the mind does. Tears fall heavily, unhurriedly, one after another. Sleep, my life, sleep now. Her voice almost breaks, but she continues singing each verse. It's a plea. Every note is a request. Come back inside. Something's happening. The heart monitor that was beating steadily begins to speed up, not out of fear, but out of recognition, as if her heart had heard something that the whole world had forgotten. The fingers of Valeria's left hand move. First one, then two. A slight movement, but for Elena, it's as if her daughter were saying, "Mommy." Elena covers her mouth so she doesn't cry out loud. Her whole body trembles. She puts her fingertips on the glass, praying that the distance will disappear. Son, my son, do you remember? She whispers breathlessly. Do you remember your mommy? Valeria doesn't open her eyes, but her hand moves. She places her fingertips on the glass, begging for the distance to disappear. My sunshine, do you remember? She whispers breathlessly. Do you remember your mommy? Valeria doesn't open her eyes, but her hand moves again, as if she wants to reach for something that life took from her too soon. Elena's breath catches. She shrinks back. The tears come out strongly but silently, afraid that someone will call security to get her out of there. I'm here, she repeats, her heart bleeding from her mouth. Mom is here. My love, my son. She falls to the floor, her knees no longer strong, her hand still touching the glass as if it were a bridge. No one sees her, no one hears her, but there, in that corner of the hospital, two lives recognize each other again, not by name, not by papers, not by tests, but by something no one can fake. The song that only a mother sings and that only a daughter feels. And deep in Elena's soul, a flame is rekindled. She is coming back. She is my son. Dawn has already turned to morning. But for Elena, time no longer exists. Every minute there weighs like a stone on her chest. She is leaning on Elena's shoulder. A flame is rekindled. She is coming back. She is my son. Dawn has already turned to morning. But for Elena, time no longer exists. Every minute there weighs like a stone on her chest. A flame is rekindled in Elena's soul. She is coming back. She is my sunshine. Dawn has turned into morning. But for Elena, time no longer exists. Every minute there weighs like a stone on her chest. She is leaning against the wall of the hallway with her arms crossed, staring at the ICU door as if she could pass through it with her mind and fall beside her daughter. The daughter she feels is hers, that her heart screams is hers. Ramirez arrives with firm steps, holding an envelope that seems too small to carry so much hope. She raises the document in the air, almost like a trophy won with blood and stubbornness. "I got it," he announces. A court order requires the hospital to deliver the results as soon as the test is ready. Elena takes a deep breath, as if she had been holding her breath for days. Her eyes shine with something very similar to victory, but it is still too early, much too early. The battle continues in the minefield of bureaucracy. They walk together to the management office. Ramirez hands the order to the director, who reads it with the bitter face of someone who has been forced to give in. "Very well," she sighs, "but the results won't be ready until tomorrow." That word falls to the floor like a broken glass. Tomorrow for anyone else is just another day, but for Elena, tomorrow is a 16-year-old hole. Her body tenses. She takes a step forward, her eyes full of truth and pain. "Tomorrow," she repeats, her voice beginning to tremble. "Tomorrow. I've waited 16 years for her." The director opens her mouth to respond, but Elena doesn't let her. Pain turns to courage. Fragility turns to strength. They say tomorrow as if she were just going to sleep and wake up. She continues with tears falling. But when a mother loses her daughter, every morning is torture. Every morning could be the end of hope. Elena breathes heavily, swallowing hot tears. "I woke up every day thinking, will she be alive? Will she remember me? She will remember me." Her voice breaks, and the answer was always silence. Ramirez approaches, trying to calm her, but she continues to be driven by her heart. "So don't ask me to wait another tomorrow." She points to the ICU. She is there alone, fighting, and you want papers, signatures, schedules. The director tries to remain firm. "Mrs. Elena, I understand your situation." "But no, you don't understand," Elena shouts, the pain finally coming out. "Who understands is the one who wakes up crying and falls asleep asking God to feel, even if just once more, the scent of her daughter. The one who understands is the one who carries one who, for emptiness in their chest, puts their hand on their heart, as if trying to stop something from escaping. There is no tomorrow for those who have been waiting for 16 years, she whispers, broken, destroyed, and yet still standing. The silence that falls is heavy. Everyone there feels it. Everyone understands, even if only for a second, that a mother's pain does not fit into any protocol. Ramirez puts his hand on her shoulder. His voice is firm but respectful. "We are going to get that result today, even if I have to take it out of the machine with my own hands." Elena looks at him with eyes full of tears, but finally breathes. It is the first time she feels that someone is fighting with her, not just watching her pain. The director does not know what to say. She takes a step back, defeated by the simple fact that the truth has the face of a mother. Elena wipes her tears, but does not hide her sadness, does not hide her love, does not hide anything. "I just want my daughter back, daughter," she says, as if confessing the purest crime in the world. She turns and looks again at the door of the ICU. Behind the glass, her life breathes. and every breath in there keeps her heart beating out here. Today, not tomorrow. Today, hope wins out over waiting. Elena is leaning against the glass of the ICU, her eyes fixed on her daughter, when she sees two men in dark suits walking slowly down the hall. They don't seem tired like people visiting a patient. They seem alert, like they are looking for something or someone. When one of them tries to open the ICU door, Elena feels her heart stop for a second. She takes a step forward, but before she can speak, Ramirez appears, standing firm like a shield that fate has placed there. "Who are you?" he asks, putting his hand on his gun without hiding his intention. The men look at each other quickly, nervously. "We are the patient's family," one replies too quickly. "We have come to take her. The transfer has already been authorized." Elena feels her stomach sink. No, they're not going to take her away again. Ramirez approaches, his body blocking the way. "No one takes anyone from here without a court order." "Where is the document?" The men stammer. Sweat appears on the younger man's forehead. They show nothing, not a single piece of evidence or paper. Ramirez takes another firm step. "Get out, now!" That was the last straw. The two turn around, and without saying a word, they run down the hallway, pushing open the emergency exit door. The metallic noise sounds loud and is lost in the dark parking lot. Elena stands there, shaken. If she had been alone, if they had come in, Ramirez bends down where something fell during the escape. He picks up a metal keyring. On the front are large letters A and O, and on the back is engraved Tonala, Ortega Auto Repair Shop. Elena feels her blood run cold. Ortega, the surname that hurts her in every memory. Ramirez closes his hand around the keyring and looks at Elena. "They came to silence her again," he says with cold rage. "But they made a mistake. They left us the way." Elena opens her eyes, breathless, and looks at the door of the ICU where her daughter sleeps. If Andres or someone from his people continues to pursue that girl, she will not wait for more protocols. She will not let tomorrow come and take away what she has just recovered. "Let's go," she says, her voice like a knife. "I'm not going to stand here if he's out there. I want to look him in the eye." Ramirez tries to say something, but Elena doesn't stop. Her fear has turned to courage, her pain to impulse, her love to fury. "I've waited too long," she says. "Take me to that workshop." As they drive, the streets are wet. The streetlights reflect like little stars fallen on the ground. Elena presses the little school notebook to her chest like a talisman. Every street they pass looks darker, but her heart has never been so awake. When they arrive, the workshop is an old warehouse with a rusty gate and a single lamp hanging in a corner, shaking in the wind. Ramirez turns on the flashlight and illuminates the courtyard, looking for movement. Nothing. Elena enters slowly, smelling the scent of grease mixed with old dust. In the back, there is a bulletin board full of papers, work notes, and photos. Ramirez approaches and takes one out. Elena moves closer, and time stands still. That fake smile that Elena knows so well. In his arms, a blonde girl of about 3 years old, with a cord around her neck and hanging from it. The same ring, the date written on the back, 2010. Elena feels her legs give way. "He was with her," he says in a broken whisper, "when she was only 3 years old." The knot that ties together 16 years of pain tightens until it almost suffocates her. Ramirez puts his hand on her shoulder, this time not as a police officer, but as someone who knows what it's like to have a broken heart, holding the only clue to hope. Elena runs her fingers over the photo with affection and anger at the same time. The tear falls without permission, falling for the girl she didn't see grow up, for the mother she couldn't be. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and when she opens them, her gaze has changed. "I'm going to find that man," she promises. "I'm going to look him in the eye and ask him why he thought he could steal my daughter." The wind blows against the workshop gate, making a sad, moaning sound. But inside Elena, something finally awakens. It is no longer just sadness, no longer just pain. Now it is justice. The workshop gate creaks as the neighbor from the shed next door opens the window and sticks his head out. He is a thin man, with a faded cap and an old jacket. He notices Ramirez and Elena, and seeing the heavy silence they bring with them, decides to speak. "You're looking for Andres, right?" he asks quietly, as if afraid the walls might hear. Ramirez shows his badge firmly, but without aggression. "We need information. Did you know him?" The man scratches his sparse beard, looks around, and opens his door with a discreet gesture. "Come in, just for a minute. You can hear everything out here." The house is simple and smells of stale coffee and motor oil. A flickering light illuminates used cups, tools, and a turned-off radio on the table. The neighbor closes the door carefully, as if to prevent the past from escaping. He begins to speak with his hands in his pockets. "I used to see Andres sometimes. He wasn't very talkative, but he almost always came with a little girl. He called her Val. She had light hair and was very quiet for her age." Elena feels a lump in her throat, but remains steadfast. Ramirez takes notes non-stop. "What did he say about her?" asks the captain. "She was his niece," says the neighbor, looking at Elena sadly. "But I thought it was strange. The girl wore a necklace with a ring just like the one in the photo, and he wouldn't let anyone near her. No one. If anyone asked, he would change the subject." Ramirez looks up and asks why the neighbor stopped coming. The neighbor takes a deep breath as if bringing back a distant memory. There was a big fight between him and his girlfriend, Lydia. Shouting, slamming doors. The man swallows. "I heard her say that he was weakening, that he wasn't going to give anything back to anyone. The next day he disappeared. I never saw them together again. Only Lydia. She managed everything here. The accounts, the clients, who came in and who went out." The name Lydia falls like a lead weight on Ramirez takes a deep breath, thinking aloud. Then, in 2008, Andres takes the girl away with false documents. Later, he meets up with Lydia. They register the girl as Valeria Ortega. They erase Vargas from every possible place. They invent a childhood for her that isn't hers. He taps the tip of his pen against the notebook. At 18, she now has access and discovers something. Maybe letters, maybe photos. She argues with Lydia and runs away, and someone follows her, causing the accident. She wanted to prevent her from getting where she needed to go with her mother. The neighbor nods slowly. "Once I heard Lydia talking on the phone. She said, 'If she talks, it's all over.' And a few days ago, a car appeared with its side all dented. The pieces of the puzzle fit together perfectly and hurt." Ramirez closes the notebook tightly. Persecution, sudden breaking, an attempt to silence her. She looks at the shed door. Someone didn't want Valeria to find her origins. Elena feels her legs give way. The neighbor tries to offer her water, but she shakes her head, afraid of collapsing. Ramirez puts his hand on her shoulder, not as a police officer, but as someone who understands the weight of a truth that has finally come out. "The DNA will confirm it," he says firmly. "And when it does, no one will be able to break that bond again." Elena closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. There is no longer any room for doubt. Hope has a name, and she is about to return home. The neighbor points to the gate. "Leave before dawn," and someone tries to erase all this again. Ramirez thanks him with a gesture. They leave the place as dawn covers the city with the smell of wet iron. In the car, Elena holds with trembling hands the proof her heart needed to believe what her instinct had been screaming for years. Her daughter is alive, and now only 3 letters separate sadness from truth. DNA. The duty judge's office is small and hot, smelling of stale coffee and worn papers. Ramirez places all the documents on the table as if handing over the most important pieces of his entire life. Elena stands behind him with her hands clenched, trying not to tremble, but she does. Her heart beats as if it were being squeezed inside her. The judge reads slowly, each word, each date, each piece of evidence. Every tear turned into a letter. "Risk of life for the patient," he murmurs, "and an old case that should never have been closed." He looks up at Elena. She cannot hide the pain on her face. It is as if the judge can see 16 years of absence at a glance. Ramirez takes a deep breath. "We need the DNA now," he says firmly, before they try to take her away again. The judge thinks for a few seconds that seem like hours, then picks up the pen and signs the document forcefully, as if breaking invisible chains. Authorized. His voice breaks the silence due to the risk to life. and the urgency of the truth. Elena almost falls, tears streaming down her face as if someone had opened a dam inside her. "Thank you," she whispers breathlessly. Back at the hospital, the intensive care team is already preparing gloves, tubes, labels. Elena enters with police permission. Lydia's lawyer is not there, thank God. The girl, Sol or Valeria, is lying quietly, breathing slowly. Elena approaches with the care of someone holding a dream without wanting to wake it. She takes the young woman's hand and brings it close to her face. "Whatever happens," she says, crying softly, "I already love you." The hand is warm and brings a little life back to Elena's hands. The team takes samples, droplets of saliva, a strand of hair, a drop of blood like fragile ruby. Elena watches everything with her heart in her hand. Each closed tube is a piece of hope, carefully stored away. When they finish, Elena kisses the girl's hand. "I'm here, my love. I'm here." The sound of the monitor rises a little, as if responding. The hours that follow do not pass. They scrape at the soul. Elena walks down the hallway, unable to sit down. The floor feels cold. The ceiling feels low. Time feels cruel. Ramirez comes and goes, talking to the lab, pressing the director, asking for reinforcements, but always returning to be with her until the door opens. Ramirez enters. He has a folded piece of paper in his hand, the hand that holds the fate of 2 lives. He takes a deep breath, but his chest trembles. Elena sees it. She knows. He also felt the weight of it all. Elena calls him in a low voice. She approaches slowly, each step a stumble with fear. She stands in front of him with her eyes full of tears. Ramirez opens the paper slowly, as if afraid of hurting the words. The probability is 99.97%. The last number needs no explanation, but he says it anyway. "It's your daughter." The world disappears. Elena falls to her knees, her hands covering her face. A silent cry, just emotion that has finally found an outlet. Her whole body cries with her. Years of guilt, of searching, of sleepless nights, of desperate prayers. Everything breaks there, on that hospital floor. Ramirez crouches down and takes her by the shoulders. His eyes are also filled with tears, because seeing a love like this is rare. Elena lifts her face toward the intensive care unit. Valeria Sol sleeps under the white light, still far away, still in a coma, but now the ring belongs. A nurse adjusts the necklace resting on the young woman's chest. The ring moves and makes a soft sound like a little bell, the same sound it made when the girl was 2 years old and stole her mother's ring, laughing and crying at the same time, a sound that says, "I'm back." Elena gets up slowly, as if learning to live again, one hand on the glass, a smile that comes with the tears. Now she knows the true name of life. Sol came home. The morning arrives slowly, as if afraid of interrupting what the night finally managed to fix. The sunlight enters the room through the crack in the window, touching Valeria's face gently, as if it wants to wake her up with affection. The beeping of the monitors continues its rhythm, but now it sounds softer, more full of life. Elena is there in the same position she was in all night, sitting next to the bed, holding her daughter's hand with both hands, as if afraid she would disappear if she let go for a second. The dark circles under her eyes show her exhaustion, but no tired body can win against a heart that has waited for years. And then, a different sigh passes a small movement. Valeria's fingers squeeze Elena's. "Son," Elena whispers, afraid to believe what she is seeing. The young woman's eyes move under her eyelids, first trembling, then slowly opening. Her eyes are confused, lost, but alive. Valeria tries to focus her gaze. The world is blurry, distant, very heavy, but she can make out a silhouette, a crying face. A woman holding her hand as if it were her very soul. Her mouth tries to form a word, but her voice comes out weak, raspy, almost without strength. "Mama, Mama!" Elena feels her heart explode in her chest. Tears fall without permission. She lets out a broken laugh of pure relief, pure love, pure gratitude for being alive, and hearing that syllable again. She puts her forehead on her daughter's forehead, holding her face carefully as if it were made of glass. "Here," she whispers between sobs. Here, my sunshine. I'm here. Valeria doesn't understand. Everything is still confusing. It's different from names, but something inside her recognizes that touch, that smell, that love that no kidnapping, no lie, and no amount of time could erase. She cries without knowing how to explain it. She cries because she found it. She cries because she belongs. Her tears slowly roll down the corners of her eyes and fall onto the sheet like little proofs that her soul also woke up along with her body. Elena runs her hand through her daughter's hair. She looks at her forehead, speaking softly, as if she were back in that nursery room full of stickers. I waited so long for you, Valeria. She closes her eyes for a moment, and like a ray of sunlight crossing an old window, the memory returns. It is not complete, just a piece, but it is the piece that matters. She sees herself as a little girl at the kindergarten door, a man saying in a sweet voice, "Let's go see Mommy." She remembers that feeling in her chest, not wanting to let go of the hand she was holding, but it was the wrong hand. And she remembers the ring, too big for her little hand, but she squeezed it tightly as if she knew that was her mother. And she remembers a lemon scent, the scent of Elena's apron, the scent of home, the scent of love. Valeria's eyes fill with tears again. She looks at Elena, her voice breaking with emotion and discovery. I remember, Elena, louder, but now it is a healing cry. She takes her daughter's face in her hands and whispers, "You came back to me, my sunshine. You came back." Valeria puts her forehead on hers again, as if that were the only place in the world where she should always have been. And in that moment, years of darkness melt away in the face of a single sunrise. A mother and daughter finally recognized each other. Nothing else mattered, because the love that was stolen found its way. The afternoon falls, heavy, as the patrol car turns into the narrow street where Lydia lives. The facades are low, the paint old, a crooked tree providing shade at her gate. Ramirez gets out first, adjusts his gun holster with an automatic gesture, and raises his hand to the two agents behind him. Discreet, no fuss. His voice is dry and focused. First, a police officer rings the intercom. The noise answers without an image. Who is the voice of Lydia? It sounds cold, impatient. "Police, we need to talk to you, Mrs. Lydia." A silence that lasts long enough to make one nervous. The gate lock clicks. The gate opens slightly. Ramirez pushes with his fingertips. The yard smells of cheap disinfectant and old gasoline. There are pots with dry plants and a clothesline with 2 towels stiff from the sun. Lydia appears at the door, her hair pulled back, her clothes too clean for such a messy house, so messy. Her face is a mask. She doesn't smile. She's not afraid. She measures, orders, questions, crossing her arms. Ramirez shows her the laminated paper and doesn't look away. Search warrant. She steps aside as if she owes nothing to anyone. Come in. You won't find anything. The living room is simple, but strangely too tidy. Nothing out of place. Dust-free pictures. Well-laid carpet. The kind of organization that wants to hide what can't be cleaned. Kitchen, bedroom, office. Ramirez assigns tasks with a gesture. He himself goes down the hall. A locked door, a piece of peeling paint, shows that it had been forced open before. But someone repainted over it. He calls one of the agents, open it. The key turns with difficulty. The room is small, with no windows. It smells of damp and stored things. There is an old chest of drawers with deep drawers, and in the corner, a dark wooden trunk with iron the kind of trunk that has been stored away for years in silence. Lydia appears in the doorway like a shadow. That trunk belonged to my dad. We'll check it out later. Ramirez kneels down and runs his hand along the edges. A small, rusty padlock. He nods to the people who carefully insert the crowbar. 2 minutes, and the metal gives way, with a short click that sounds louder than it is. The lid opens, and the air that comes out of there smells like school dust, old paper, cheap perfume from another era. Inside, photos, plastic bags with documents, a smaller tin box, a thick yellow envelope, and a beige hospital school bracelet with blue letters that are half faded. Ramirez doesn't touch it right away. He takes a deep breath, puts on gloves, and only then takes the first object, the preschool bracelet. The plastic crinkles in his hand. The name written on it shimmers in the light. Maria Sol Vargas Ortega. He closes his eyes for a second and says quietly so as not to break the moment, "Here it is." Lydia takes a quick step forward that doesn't prove anything. Children lose things. I kept it. I'm careful, being careful. Isn't collecting memories of someone who wasn't yours. Ramirez doesn't raise his voice. What she hears is firmness. It's giving back. He opens the yellow envelope inside photos printed on opaque paper. The little girl in a courtyard, the cord with the ring shining on her chest, Lydia, the background, holding his hand too tightly. Another photo, a simple cake with 3 candles, the blonde girl trying to blow them out, and behind her, someone with his face cut off in the shot. A shirt he recognizes from the workshop on the edge of the photo, with a pen that says 2010 on the tin box. Folded letters, some torn at the edges. Ramirez reads the first lines of one. Don't say the mother's name. She doesn't exist. The handwriting is a man, harsh letters. Say she's my niece, put the letter away without making a scene. It's not drama, it's proof. Lydia Hernandez says, looking at her directly, "You are under arrest for kidnapping, false identity, illegal confinement, and obstruction of justice." She lets out a sideways laugh, a dry laugh that scrapes the air. They arrived 16 years late. Sometimes justice moves slowly. Ramirez replies, bringing the handcuffs closer. But when he arrives, he enters. He signals with his head. "Turn around, please, don't touch me." She tries to stay firm, but her voice trembles when she feels the cold metal on her wrist. "There are more people in this," she spits. Already handcuffed. They don't know who they're messing with. "I know who I'm messing with now." Ramirez points to the exit. "Walk down the hall." People ask in low voices, and Andres Ramirez stares at a spot in the courtyard, as if he sees something that can't be seen. "Gone," he replies curtly, and that word weighs like a stone. Sound the alert. All contacts, borders, terminals, workshops, everything. As they descend the steps, Lydia throws one last jab. "She will never be yours. She will never belong to anyone else. She is mine." Ramirez stops, turns, and gets close enough for her to hear every syllable. She belongs to her and her mother. He points his chin toward the sky, which is beginning to change color, and toward the life outside, where neighbors spy from behind their curtains. The patrol car makes its way down the narrow street. Ramirez hands over the trunk for examination, as if returning a name to its place of origin. The bracelet in a sealed bag, the numbered photos, the catalogued letters. When the patrol car door closes and the sound echoes, the air seems to clear a little. It doesn't become a party. It doesn't become a triumph. It's another kind of silence, the kind that says now. It started to hurt in the right place on the sidewalk. Ramirez stays for a moment with his face turned toward the other side of the street, his fists in his coat pockets, feeling the rough relief of someone who has delivered a part of justice, and the cruel emptiness of someone who still does not have the other part. Andres takes out his phone, the reflection of the pale sky shining on the screen, his voice when he speaks, coming with weariness and steel. At the same time, I got it: trunk, bracelet, letters, photos. Lydia is in custody. Pause. He says, "We're still looking on the other side." Someone asks, "And now?" Ramirez looks at the street, the houses, life going on as if nothing had broken inside. He squeezes the cell phone tighter and responds as if hammering a nail into time. "Justice has begun. We'll find the rest." The hospital room is quieter now. It is no longer the silence of fear, but the silence of someone who can finally breathe. The sun enters through the window with a soft light, as if even it wanted to enter slowly, so as not to interrupt the reunion. Elena sits next to the bed as she has always done since that day, but now there is no doubt. She is not just holding the hand of a patient, she is holding the head of her own daughter. Valeria is still weak, but there is a new calmness in her gaze, as if her heart had found the place it had always sought, even though she did not know the name of that place. Elena takes a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to release everything that had been trapped in her chest for years. "Forgive me, my love," she begins, her voice already trembling. "I lost you, and I went on living. I blamed myself every day. I thought I had failed, that I wasn't a good mother, that God was punishing me." Valeria squeezes her hand with what little strength she has, and her eyes shine. "You found me, Mom." she whispers in that childish tone that had remained hidden in her memory. You never stopped looking for me. Elena breaks down, crying with her head resting on her daughter's chest, finally feeling the opportunity to be a real mother after so long being a mother in a vacuum. Valeria slowly runs her fingers through her mother's hair, as children do without thinking, a simple caress that returns 16 stolen years. I know almost nothing about my history, Valeria murmurs, but I know you were here all the time, waiting for me. Elena lifts her face and holds her daughter's chin, looking straight into those eyes that hold memories and scars that the world wanted to hide. Now no one will take you away from me, Saul. She smiles through her tears. Never again. And then something is born there. Something new. Something that is not just theirs. Valeria looks at her mother and asks with difficulty, Mom, I love the name Saul. They talk for hours about what happened, and hug each other, and tell stories. Later, Saul becomes serious. How many women are like you were, waiting without knowing, suffering in silence? That question cuts through the air. Elena feels those words hit her inside, like a call. Many, she responds, her voice full of pain and courage, more than I can count. Saul squeezes her hand. Then let's help. Let's find those mothers, those souls. Let's bring together those who were lost. Elena's eyes fill up again, but this time, it is hope. They hug each other tightly, as if making a sacred pact. Two survivors becoming light in the lives of others. Months later, in a simple room with a coffee table, plastic chairs, and handwritten posters, the Luz de Regreso group is born. The women enter timidly, some with crumpled photos of lost children, others with empty hands, but hearts full of wounds. Elena welcomes each one with a long hug, the kind that says, I know. Luz takes down documents, helps guide, serves hot coffee, and listens to stories that sound a lot like her own. Where there was once pain, there is now companionship. Where there was once silence, there is now worse. A long hug, the kind that says, I know. Soul takes notes, documents, helps guide, serves hot coffee, and listens to stories that sound a lot like hers. Where there was once pain, there is now companionship. Where there was once silence, there is now worse. Where there was once loss, there is now a hurt. And at the center of it all, a mother who almost died of grief and a daughter who almost died without knowing who she was. Elena takes Soul's hand as they watch the group forming. See, my Soul, she whispers proudly. You didn't come back just for me. You came back for all of us. Soul just rests her head on her mother's shoulder and smiles with tears in her eyes. I want everyone to find what I found, she says softly. A place to belong. Their hands clasp tightly, their hearts beat together, and life finally makes sense again. The light room is illuminated by a soft, simple light, but one full of affection. On the table, 2 cups of coffee still warm, as if life there always paused to embrace those who arrived tired. In the background, posters written in her mother's handwriting. Here, no one searches alone. Every story matters. Absence also has a voice. Soul is sitting in front of Elena. The time between them is no longer distance. It is a bond. She brings her hand to her chest and holds the necklace with the ring that has been through tears, lies, escapes, and endless nights. And she looks at it carefully, as if she could see there all the childhood that was stolen from her. This ring was the only thing I never wanted to let go of, even though I didn't remember why, she confesses with shining eyes. Elena smiles with the sweetness of someone who recognizes her soul in her daughter. She opens her palm and shows a new chain, just like Soul's. Slowly, she puts the chain around her neck and adjusts the cold metal right where her heart once broken and is now being rebuilt. Keep it, my daughter, says Elena, touching the necklace. Soul, always with you. Mine will stay here, so they will never separate us. Soul takes her mother's hand and looks at her wrist and the scar there, the same crescent moon she has on her own wrist, so similar that it looks like a drawing made on purpose by life. The two join scar to scar. Marks that once hurt are now proof. Saul brings her mother's hand to her lips and kisses it slowly with sincere affection, with love that overflows with a sadness that has finally found a cure. I love you, Mom. Elena closes her eyes at that touch, and a tear escapes and falls on her daughter's skin like a seal. She caresses Sol's face as she did when she was a child, and fell asleep on the couch after running around the house, and whispers close to her ear, "Sleep now, Sol, in peace." The young woman smiles and rests her head on her mother's shoulder. For the first time, rest comes without fear. Elena looks around the room and takes a deep breath. Other mothers will come, other daughters, other sons, and she will always be there, because now she carries something inside that no one else can take away from her, the certainty that love does not give up. If this story touched your heart, write your favorite part in the comments and share your thoughts. For similar hospital morgue stories, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share the video with your loved ones. Maybe this is exactly the hope someone is looking for.